Sunday morning, everybody. Welcome to this baby we call The Sweat, a program we bring you here on DraftKings Network and VSiN every Saturday and Sunday morning from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock Eastern Time. I am still your host, Emerson Lotzius. Steve Buchanan is here. Julian Edlow is here. How is everybody feeling? Rough night for the Celtics, Jules.
Yeah, no getting around that one. That was bad.
It certainly was.
Did you do the first half point total bet?
No.
That's good.
I did.
I did think of that when it was like halfway through the second and it had like 25 points.
No,
I was like, I hope you didn't take that this time.
No, I generally back that at home, but I mean, I did bet the Celtics. So
Yeah, you did.
I said my breakdown kind of going into the two games, going into Dallas.
Okay.
A lot of people thought Dallas was going to get game 3 as the game they had to get. I said, no. This is when the Celtics come through and show they're the better team. If they lose one, it's going to be game 4. I said that. I still bet them game 4 because if you give me that team and a pick 'em the way they've looked, like I'm not going to pass on them. It's not, a regular season back-to-back where they're an underdog or a pick 'em.
Yeah.
If you give me them like when all things are even as an underdog or a pick 'em, I'm going to take them any game. I did it. They got absolutely
You
smoked.
pushed out a tweet that was really long. It was a really long tweet that
It had 5 bets in it. They
Yeah.
did poorly. I'll get the Twitter. I
good.
went to bed. I'll get the recap out on Twitter soon, but
which is why you're bringing in a guest today to help us out. We can't just solely lean on you anymore.
yeah.
Here is what else we have
We are gonna
coming
do
up in this show, everybody. The Panthers are on the prowl, 1 win away from the first Stanley Cup championship. Hoisting Lord Stanley is the goal. Loaded bases, Steve Buchanan. Let's dive into all the betting angles on a full MLB slate, shall we? Wasn't a great night for our Red Sox either. And can you believe it? Euro, the tournament, one of the biggest soccer tournaments on the planet, kicking off 2 days ago.
We said on our Since 1901 podcast that we didn't like the spot for Bayo.
No.
So
there's a lot of Red Sox fans yesterday on Twitter, too, who are like, oh, this guy's washed. He's done.
Did you not bet the Yankees last night?
I did not bet the Yankees last night.
I bet the Yankees is one of my biggest, first 5 is one of my biggest MLB bets of the season. I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh, you have Alex,
You know what?
Been going
Alex
the wrong
Verdugo
way.
to thank for that.
Spoiler alert, betting Yankees first 5 today.
Oh, Steve,
I can
don't
get
give
on
it
board
all
with that.
away.
I can get on board with that.
Okay, let's get on board with working up a sweat because that's
Okay.
how we start the show every Saturday and Sunday morning. Who wants to go first? I'll let you guys take a pick. Jules, how
I'll
about
go
you?
first, and I am going to do basketball, but I'm just really quickly going to work up a sweat about my working up a sweat and finish off baseball real quick because I went with a buddy who is one of my best friends from college who is a Phillies fan to Fenway Park on Thursday night.
Oh.
I would just like to say something. I'm
ahead.
sitting here.
This is ridiculous. We need a
trying,
Twitter poll.
I am trying to go to bed on Thursday night, get my beauty sleep, and all of a sudden my phone starts buzzing left and right. I said, oh my God, what's going on? There must be an emergency. It's Jules sending me updates of the glizzies that he is sucking down at Fenway
This
Park.
was at like 8 p.m. You're trying to go to bed?
Bed?
This is
Buddy, I
waking
had
you
an
up.
early day on Friday, man. Okay, but anywho,
You are
congratulations.
elderly.
Congratulations on crushing some Fenway Franks on
Yeah,
Thursday.
that was fine, but my take is that it's an opposing park. Everybody was rooting for the Phillies.
Oh, yeah.
Last night, everybody was rooting for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Bad.
I saw Jared tweeting about it. I was like 80% Yankees.
No,
fans at
I didn't
Fenway
realize
Park.
it. I've seen Jared's tweets, but I didn't realize it until I was in the ballpark. It was
Yeah.
the first game of the season. And it was just like Philly fanatics, baby.
Well, especially yesterday because obviously the finals was on. So, you could have just...
Oh, and they were trying to
New
move
York
the game
fans
up.
can just fill the
Yeah,
park.
They
and
tried to move the game up to 6:30,
They did.
and there was
yeah.
an hour and a half
And
rain.
then the rain. Yeah.
It's like, no, it's just a bad night for Boston sports.
That was bad. Okay, so we're gonna go to the other bad part of Boston sports, which was much worse: the historic loss by the Celtics. That was like a just get it out of the way. Like the moment, in some ways, was almost too big for them. They had a chance to win it all. They knew they had a chance to win it all, and they just completely no-showed. So, per Sean Grandy, Celtics play-by-play guy on the radio, that was their 100th game of the season, the Celtics, regular season and postseason. Ranked 97 out of 100 on defense, 100 out of 100 on offense. Essentially played their worst game of the season in their first crack at closing this out. I think that it was. I think that they knew what was at stake, but then they got out there and the Mavericks punched first like they did in Game 3, as you would expect. But rather than kind of counter it when they know what's on the line, the moment just got a little bit big for them. A lot of teams that haven't won before fail in their first closeout attempt, and need to get another crack at that. So I think that this is going to be one of those weird NBA finals. Spoiler alert, I'm picking the Celtics. I think everybody knows that, but I'm going to say Celtics in 5, and this is going to be one of those weird NBA finals where everybody's like, you remember that gentleman's sweep of the Mavericks where, like, the final score in this series is probably going to be pretty even. The Celtics are 6.5-point favorites in Game 5. The Mavericks are now winning the series by 6 points in overall points because of that blowout, yet the Celtics have a 3-1 lead. So if the Celtics cover that 6.5, it puts them, let's say they win by 7. They win the series by 1 point and win the series 4-1. It's pretty crazy. Just the numbers you can throw around.
There's a trend too in terms of the Celtics winning titles on June 17th, which will be the date Monday. Last title against the Lakers, June 17th, 2008, baby. 131.92.
Yep. I was in college. I had like $300 in my bank account, and I will forever regret not asking my dad to borrow a little bit more money and go to that game. Looking at the price, it costs 5 times as much now to go to this game.
I know, and you're going to celebrate.
And I will be going.
Your wedding anniversary.
June 17th holds a special place in my family. On the 10th anniversary of the Celtics winning in 08, I happen to have gotten married on that day.
Dude, incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you. 6th wedding anniversary. We were trying to figure out if we were going to go down to Rhode Island for the night, celebrate a Celtics title that was already over, or have to go to a Game 5 in Boston. So it's buckle up, honey. Go to the game.
Buckle up, bucko.
One thing I want to share that just like skewed numbers in this series, going into Game 4, Drew Holiday was an NBA Finals best plus 38, I think, or plus 35.
Yeah.
He's now a -3 in the series. He was a -38 in that game. So just like an idea of where this series was, and the numbers now no longer reflect the Celtics' domination because of one game.
I saw some crazy stat too about like Tatum is now the first player to maybe be -30 plus or something twice in the finals.
He's been a -30. He was a -38 last night, or a -36, and he was a -36 in Game 2. 2 years ago. So he's the first player ever to be like a -36 or worse in 2 NBA Finals games.
All right, Bukes, have at it.
So, got some news yesterday.
Uh-oh.
At the,
is everything okay?
Yeah, it's nothing to do with me.
All right.
It's sports related. This is a sports show.
Even though we just talked about
Jose Abreu got released by the Astros, and they are eating a ton of money in doing so. They are eating $30 million on that contract. Just an absolutely abysmal signing for them in hindsight now. He was fine last year, which makes it all the more surprising. But, originally signed him 2 years ago, 3-year, $58.3 million deal, and he just hasn't been able to put it together so far this year. He spent some time in the minors before he came back up to the majors here. 35 games played for the Astros this year. He was hitting 8th the other day, by the way. On the year, hitting 124 with a 167 on-base percentage and a 195 slugging percentage. Only 2 home runs, 7 RBI, and 10 runs scored over 35 games. However, now this opens up the opportunity for other teams to sign him, of course, for the league minimum. So where could he end up landing? Because I don't think this is going to be the last time that we're going to see Jose Abreu in Major League Baseball. Like just a couple of years ago, 2020, the COVID year, he won the MVP of the league. Had 18 home runs, hit 9 and knocked in 90 runs in those games. Like, he is still somebody who can do well at the plate. Like, bad stretch here for a stretch of 35 games, but there are a lot of teams out there in Major League Baseball that could use somebody at first base. Couple teams that are still in contention, like the Brewers could use some help at first base. The Reds could use some help at first base. This is kind of a roundabout way of saying the NL Central could be a landing spot for Jose Abreu, but despite his age, he's 37 years old, same age as me. I don't think I could be that. I think I'd be hitting the same line that he would be hitting right now, but I think he's still a productive baseball player. He just hasn't been able to put it together this year. Somebody's going to pick him up for the league minimum. I think it's an interesting name that's kind of hit the free agent market, where this year especially, where we talked about how many teams are like just under 500 or whatever, there are so many teams that are still in contention for that wild card spot because everybody's just lumped together, like either on the cusp or in that wild card spot. Last year, the trade deadline was a little iffy. I think it's going to be an absolute flurry this year. He's an interesting name that's now available for the league minimum.
All right, well, just real quick, I want to just get weird for mine. Let's parlay Sepp Straka and Adam Scott to finish top 20 at the U.S. Open, plus 810 odds. Both currently 2 over here, people. Over the last 2 months, Sepp has been a top 10 machine. Looked really good yesterday, which included an ace, one of 2 aces yesterday at Pinehurst number 2. I think he's going to keep up the good work in these tough conditions. And although both guys could struggle to move up the leaderboard today, everybody will, because typical USGA layout on a Saturday at a major is much tougher. So look for maybe potentially tomorrow for them both to make moves. And Adam Scott has just been a generational backdoor finisher this season, and through 36 holes here, he's gaining strokes in the correct categories. He's both driving the ball well, playing solid around the green. And the dude from down under will love these conditions, because the Carolina Sandhills, gentlemen, very similar to the Australian sand belt. Okay? Home is where the heart is. And our heart is here on the sweat.
Did you go to Home Goods the other day?
Dude, I know. We have Live, Laugh, Love now over our fireplace in our apartment. Let's put this show on ice, people. Panthers and Officer Bobrovsky, 60 minutes away from winning their first Stanley Cup. What chance our dynamic NHL.com duo are giving Edmonton in Game 4 tonight? All right, there's an NHL hockey game to be played tonight. It could be the last NHL hockey game of the season because the Florida Panthers have this stranglehold on the Stanley Cup final following Their 4-3 victory in Edmonton on Thursday. They have a massive 3-0 series lead. So it's time now for another healthy dose of NHL opening faceoff. Yes, I have questions. The dynamic NHL.com duo of Pete Jensen and Canadian Anna Dua have answers, hopefully, here. Anna, you tweeted at 9:51 Eastern Time Thursday night, why can't Canada have nice things? What the hell happened in Game 3?
They somehow came back a little bit after I said that. They made it interesting in the third period to give them hope, but Canada still can't have nice things. I thought the Florida Panthers would come out swinging in the series. I really did. I thought it would take Edmonton a couple of games to adjust, but a 3-0 deficit is pretty huge for the Oilers, and their top guys have not shown up in this series, which has been the difference maker. Their role players have, and a lot of people have been waiting for their role players to show up. Now they're here. Their top guys have gone missing. It's just not looking good for Edmonton against a Florida team that looks like it's not ready to falter in the slightest.
Pete, if you look closely at the numbers, which I am right now, the Oilers did just about everything right in Game 3. So they dominated time in the offensive zone. They had the lead in total shots. And for a majority of the game, they played mistake-free hockey. Again, majority, not all of it. So how was Florida able to work its postseason magic again?
I mean, they have three really strong lines, and Edmonton was missing Evander Kane, so that was a important secondary guy that was not in the equation. Edmonton's 0 for 10 on the power play in the series, and overall, I've been surprised that Edmonton has been able to outshoot Florida heavily in 2 of the 3 games, yet still can't find a win. So I guess if you're trying to spin it into some sort of a positive light, Edmonton is outworking Florida, surprisingly, in the shots on goal department in this series. They just haven't had anything to show for it. Like Anna mentioned, all their top guys are without a goal. McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Bouchard. I mean, who could have ever
Nugent
seen
Hopkins. I mean, for crying out loud. They've all failed to score a goal. So, Anna, I want you to tell me, has that been the biggest difference maker? Those guys failing to find the back of the net, or is it Bobrovsky who's been the biggest difference maker?
I think it is a combination of Edmonton's top players not being able to show up when it matters the most, and also Stuart Skinner and their blue line. I would say the Edmonton Oilers are out shooting the Florida Panthers, and Florida plays a tough style of hockey that gets under the skin of their opponents, and we're seeing that frustrate Edmonton when it matters the most. I thought Stuart Skinner was the MVP of their Western Conference final against the Dallas Stars. He showed up and he showed out, but he has not had one good performance in the Stanley Cup final, and their blue line has not helped him. So it's really tough when you're seeing the save percentages that Stuart Skinner is putting up against a team like Florida. That just can't happen. And it's the same old story in Edmonton of a netminder just not being able to get it done for this team.
All right, Pete, let's think a little positive here, though. Give me biggest surprise. Like, who has it been? What has it been through 3 games in this Stanley Cup final?
Oh, definitely Evan Rodriguez.
Yeah.
He's had at least a point in each of the 3 games so far. He's had good underlying metrics all season long, and even his past 3 stops, he's bounced around the league with Pittsburgh, Colorado, and now Florida. He spent some time playing with elite players, but no matter where this guy is in the lineup, as we've seen in this series, first, second, or third line, he produces. He always gets the shot on goal volume to go his way. So I think since 2011-12 or 2021-22, he's averaging like well over 2.5 shots on goal per game. So he's been doing this for a while in a lot of different advanced categories, and now it's coming into fruition. He's had this outburst and leading the Stanley Cup final in goals and tied with Barkov for points with 4. Pretty insane.
Yeah, Anna, Rodriguez, he entered this postseason with just 16 games of playoff experience. His 3 goals in the first 2 games, added an assist in Game 3. What can you say about his performance up to this point?
Yeah, I knew the second you asked Pete that question, he was going to say Evan Rodriguez, because Pete's been really high on Evan Rodriguez even before the Stanley Cup final. He's been very high on him as a player in the regular season, thought it was a great ad for Florida. So I think I agree with Pete right there. I love the fit of Evan Rodriguez on his team and his underlying metrics, exactly as he said. He's been contributing well, and he goes on these little like hot streaks. He's hit a hot streak at the best possible time in the Stanley Cup final right now, and great lineup placement too. Like can't give enough credit to where he's playing on that top line with Sasha Barkov and Sam Reinhart. That's a huge factor in how well Evan Rodriguez is playing. So when we're taking a look at the opportunities he's getting rewarded with good lineup placement for a Florida Panthers team that is very deep. And it's very clear that Paul Maurice trusts him to show up, and he has been showing up throughout the series.
All right, I'm not saying the Oilers are going to come back here and win the Cup and win 4 straight games to do so. It's a difficult challenge. Obviously, the 1942 Maple Leafs have accomplished said feat in the Stanley Cup final before, but that was a really, really long time ago. Anna, can you give the people watching right now any hope? Is there any piece of positivity that you can grab from Edmonton's side and at least make us believe that they can pick up a Game 4 victory tonight?
The piece of hope that I can give them is they lost game 3, 4-3, and none of their top guys showed up in that matchup. So if your role players are doing enough to bring you within 1 goal differential of the Florida Panthers, you just need like one of these guys to get a goal. I mean, Zach Hyman's leading the NHL postseason in goals and has gone cold at the worst possible time. We mentioned all of these players who have just not shown up: Leon Draisaitl, Evan Bouchard, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Connor McDavid's gotten a couple assists, but their power play needs to convert when it matters the most. They have a historic power play. It's the best power play in the NHL. It's just gone missing right now. So that's your positivity. They lost with a 1 goal differential when none of these guys showed up. So if any of them do, maybe they can pick up a win in game 4.
Yeah, Pete, I mean, even if they do show up, you still have that Florida Panthers defense like that will eventually likely claw back at them. What about you? Is there a sign of hope here?
I mean, I think if Evan Bouchard gets going, that could really turn the tide a little bit. He's been so important to them scoring-wise this postseason. He's just kind of met his match in terms of the all-around play in this series, going up against, the Barkovs of the world and the strong defense in Florida. Like we've said, Ekblad's had a huge series. Forsling, all these guys are like defense first, and then they chip in the offense. Bouchard is offense first, and then when he gets like neutralized, he's just not bringing enough to the table here. So they need one of those Bouch bombs to go in, and then they need a better defensive effort from him as well. He plays with Ekholm, and he's been the weak link so far in the series on that pair.
Anna, is the state of Florida a hockey powerhouse, like a hockey factory now?
With Tampa Bay in Florida, I would have to say, yeah. I mean, maybe it's like the next province we can add to Canada, since there's a ton of Canadians who live down there specifically.
Yeah, maybe
during the winter months. So I'm claiming it as part of Canada now.
Hey, if that's the case, you'll finally end that 31-year drought of a Canadian team hoisting Lord Stanley here. I mean, help.
And it also means you're Canadian, Emerson.
Yeah,
welcome.
It actually does. Florida man, Canadian man. I don't know. I can see the similarities, at least when I look at Jeff Ulrich. Pete, last time a Canadian team hoisted Lord Stanley, that was June 9th, 1993. The Canadians passed around the Stanley Cup after beating the Kings in 5 games. Jurassic Park was mauling the competition at the box office. Roseanne and Home Improvement were on every TV in America here. Right now, who sits atop your Conn Smythe rankings?
It's got to be Barkov. I was saying before the last game, if he comes back and plays after that injury, even 1 game, he could be the conquering hero. And I think his body of work matching up against all the top players in the playoffs so far, shutting down a 5-on-5 guys like Kucherov, Pasternak, especially Artemi Panarin, and now containing McDavid and Draisaitl. No goals for either guy so far. So I think Barkov's body of work is just as good as Bobrovsky's, but now this injury return factor and scoring a goal in game 3, that pretty much seals the deal in terms of who I would vote for personally.
Okay, who would your vote be for here, Anna? And there, by the way, I was reading about it earlier today. 18 media members have got to submit their top 3 selections for playoff MVP by the 10-minute mark of the 3rd period. So tonight, no matter if the Panthers are on top at that moment of the game, everyone's got to submit their ballot. So let's say you're at this game, you have a ballot. Who was on top of it?
I gotta agree with Pete here. The answer for me is Sasha Barkov. I know Sergei Bobrovsky's the favorite right now, but to win the Stanley Cup, it's an effort throughout the entire postseason and heading into the Eastern Conference Final. Sergei Bobrovsky's numbers were not great. His team definitely outperformed him and allowed him to turn his game around, and now he's been great. He's been awesome as of late for this Florida Panthers squad, but Sasha Barkov's been great from day one. He's a two-way player that gets things done. He is one of the most underrated players consistently in the NHL, and he's showed up so heavily in the Stanley Cup final alone that for me, it was between him or Matthew Tkachuk. If Matthew Tkachuk had a huge Stanley Cup final, we don't know how many games this is going to go, but it's not looking like there's too many left. And if there aren't, Sasha Barkov's my answer as well.
All right, Anna, Pete, your job here is done. Enjoy what could be the last game of the NHL season later tonight. Steve Buchanan's job is not done. He is back. He's going to take us inside the bettor's box ahead of a stacked Saturday slate around Major League Baseball, which includes Aaron Judge trying to do his thing inside Fenway Park. Back here on The Sweat, everybody. I'm Emerson Lancia. Steve Buchanan is here. It is time to cover the bases. We're going to gather some information from Steve, some of his favorite baseball bets ahead of today's slate. Right down the road last night, my dude.
Yeah.
Yankees are in town. So I think the first team to 50 wins now.
Yeah, and I would say that Fenway Park sounded like Yankee Stadium last night.
It was wild. We kind of talked about it, touched on it at the top of the show. What were your thoughts on Alex Verdugo just being super passionate, fired up after hitting?
Passionate?
He was passionate.
Petty?
No,
Petty.
I have no problem with that. I feel like all of the old man yells at crowd
Sure.
were upset about that, but guy was just pimping, excited about a home run around the bases. Plus, there was the revenge factor.
It's fine. I'm definitely not going to say, like, I don't like that type of stuff. But you know what? He's a subpar player at best.
I liked him here in Boston.
Would you rather him or Mookie Betts?
Oh, that is true.
That just ruins anything that he brought to the. He was doomed from day one. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Doomed from day one.
Are the Red Sox doomed today?
Yes.
They are.
I think so.
What's the bet you're targeting here? It seems like you're backing the Yankees again. Jules was actually smart enough to back the Yankees last night. You did not, being the baseball guy, but you're going to wise up and do it today.
Well, thankfully he did that because I heard his NBA bets did not go well. So thankfully he got something last night. But yeah, back in the Yankees on the first 5-run line here tonight. We got Carlos Rodon going up against Cooper Criswell. Yankees have been one of the best teams on that first 5-run line, going 44-27. Even better, 22-17 on the road, which is where they are today, although it won't sound like it when you're in the ballpark. But they got Carlos Rodon taking the mound. He has just been absolutely phenomenal since the beginning of May. He gave up 7 runs to the Baltimore Orioles in his first start of the month of May on the 2nd. And since then, he's allowed a total of 11 runs in 7 starts since. That's a span of 43 innings. The stuff that he throws right now, he throws fastball and a slider. Opposing hitters are hitting just 230 against his fastball, 180 against his slider. Those are his 2 main pitches. Like I mentioned, you got Cooper Criswell going for the Boston Red Sox today. He throws a lot of sinkers, and that is a pitch the Yankees have been absolutely demolishing all throughout the year right now. If you look at today's expected lineup going to be taking the field today, 416 WOBA against sinker balls so far this year. So this just feels like a good spot to back the Yankees, back Carlos Rodon on that first 5-run line at minus half a run there. So give me the Yankees in that spot.
The Red Sox, as we've talked about on our Since 1901 a Boston Baseball podcast, have just been so tough to pinpoint and predict this roller coaster season. They split 2 games against the worst team in the league with the White Sox, that 4-game series there. And then they end up taking 2 of 3 from the Phillies.
Right.
The Phillies last night wait out this extra inning rain delay, and then they outlast the Orioles 5-3 in 11 innings. But you're thinking the Orioles start hot today.
Yeah, I think so too, and I don't think a lot of people are going to disagree with that either because they got Taijuan Walker taking the mound for the Phillies. He has by far been their worst pitcher throughout the year. This is someone who's been extremely hit or miss throughout his career, but specifically this year, feels like a lot more misses than we have hits. The biggest problem with him is that he really struggles against left-handed bats, and that is something that the Orioles can really load up on any given day. Most likely tonight, you're going to see at least 7 lefties in that lineup here for the Baltimore Orioles, including the first 4 hitters that they're going to start with. We got Gunnar Henderson, you got Adley Rutschman, you got Ryan O'Hearn, and then Anthony Santander. Probably the top 4 guys in this lineup here today. You look at what Walker has done, or really they've done against him when you're talking about left-handed bats. 411 WOBA against him, 5 of the 8 home runs he's allowed, and just a 6.6 K9. So he's not striking these guys out at all. They're on the road here today, which is obviously where this start is going to be. Walker has an ERA approaching 6 on the road so far this season. So give me the Orioles go over 2.5 runs the first 5 innings. We'll have another bet for this game a little bit later in the segment as well.
Okay, as in right after this next question that I have to ask you, which is why are you so high on Charlie Morton today?
Dude has found like the fountain of youth. Like I figured like he was
That's
done
in
a couple of years
St.
ago.
Augustine, by the way. St. Augustine, Florida, the Fountain of Youth. You can hop on like a little tram and take a tour of it. And a lot of people think if you drink the chlorinated water in there that it's going to help you, but it's not the same water that was around like 500 years ago.
Well, judging by your hair, you have not partaken in that.
Oh, whoa! Gray is the new brown,
But
people.
John-
Silver fox.
It actually.
Come on in. Come on in.
Oh my God. Okay.
Look at that. Look
Yep,
at that.
we got a good shot of that. Good.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, my wife likes it. That's all
Yep.
that matters.
Thank God for 4K. So we got Charlie Morton going over 16 and a half outs recorded here against the Tampa Bay Rays. So we need him to go at least 5 2/3 innings to win this bet here. This is a number that he's actually gone over in 9 of the 12 starts that he's made on the year. And a big reason for his success this year is that the curveball is basically his number one pitch at this stage of his career. And it makes sense because if you look at the numbers across the league, across Major League Baseball, I should say the entire league is hitting just 222 against curveballs this year with a 278 WOBA. The Rays are a big reason this number is so low. The Rays have just been abysmal against the curveball. They, as a team, are hitting 180 on the year with a 211 WOBA against the curveball this season. So for Charlie Morton to go deep into games, obviously we need some quick work here. He's not a big strikeout guy at this point in his career, so we just need him to get contact, to get outs. And with the way that the Rays are not hitting against this pitch here, and this is, like I mentioned, his number one pitch at this point, this feels like a good spot to back Charlie Morton to go over this out total. Like I mentioned, something he's gone over 9 of the 12 games that he's pitched so far this year. So give me Morton to go over that outs recorded total of 16 and a half.
All right, so you got a similar bet here on your card for Walker.
Yes.
This is what you just teased about a minute and a half ago.
Yeah, so we're taking the over on the outs recorded for Morton. We're going to go under the outs recorded for
Gotcha.
Taijuan Walker here at 15 and a half outs recorded. I mentioned I like the Orioles to go over 2.5 runs through the first 5 innings. So that means that Walker is likely struggling. So this kind of correlates to each other here. This is a number that he's gone under in only half of his starts, 4 of his 8 starts. However, he's gone under this total in 4 of his last 5 starts, and that's really where the struggles have been here. I think it's the first 3 starts that he made of the year. He went over 6 innings. That was great, but the struggles have really set in since the month of May, and that's kind of where we are here in June. A lot of this has to
I'm
do...
looking at it has moved now to 16 and a half.
So even better. So I'll even I'll take
great.
that
Awesome.
at minus 125. So we'll take under 16 and a half. But this really has to do with his command being shaky here. That's driving up his pitch count. That's making these starts a little bit shorter here. The other thing is fly balls for Taijuan Walker are way, way up compared to last year. Last year he gave up a fly ball rate about 35% of the time. This season it's nearly 50. He's at 47% fly ball rate on the year. So that's obviously kind of going to his struggles here. His home runs have been up as well. So I think this is a spot where you can take over 2.5 runs for the Orioles in the first 5. You can also take Taijuan Walker to go under now 16 and a half outs recorded. So give me the under on his outs recorded here today.
Okay, so a couple nights ago, the Reds recorded record attendance
Yeah.
for Ellie De La Cruz bobblehead giveaway night. And that
Did you see the lines of the stadium?
It's
it was
unbelievable.
insane.
And now they're going on eBay for close to around $200. Now, it wasn't like...
Okay, we need to figure this out.
Okay.
Because this is now the second time this season that bobbleheads have been going for a ton of money. That's the one.
Shohei's
Yes.
was going for like $1,500, maybe $2,000
Yes.
on eBay. Ellie De La Cruz obviously doesn't carry the same kind of star power, but he could get there eventually. That, to me, with that crowd showing up, sends a very loud message to the Reds front office. We love this guy, and we want him here for an extremely long time, and you want him today, betting-wise, because...
Well, first of all, I mean, I need to get one of those bobbleheads so I can resell it. You know, this is a day and age of resellers. and
Maybe
such,
you
but
could, I know you're a big card guy. Do you have an Ellie De La Cruz card? You could maybe...
I have a bunch of Ellie De La Cruz cards, but why am I wasting my time when I can just go get some bobbleheads? And
Yeah, and this is the
triple
first time they've
amount?
done the Ellie De La Cruz bobblehead giveaway thing, and clearly people are loving it.
But we like him to go over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. This is one of my favorite batter prop bets that we offer on DraftKings Sportsbook because you can obviously win this in a number of ways. You need him just to have 2 combinations of hits, runs, and RBIs in this game. And this is a really good spot here, I think, against the Brewers starter Bryce Wilson. Wilson has some really bad numbers against lefties, and obviously De La Cruz is a switch hitter, so we can hit from the right side or the left side, but with Wilson being a righty, De La Cruz should be hitting from the left side. 429 WOBA against lefties with a 6.69 FIP. Those are some really, really poor numbers there. He throws a lot of cutters and sinkers, and those are pitches that De La Cruz has done very well with throughout the year so far. Going over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. This is also a number that he's gone over nearly half the games that he's played on the year. 48% of his games, he's gone over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. 33 of his 69 games. I think this is a great spot going up against Wilson, who, like I mentioned, has those really bad numbers against lefties.
Up against it, just real quick, Jerry Jones. Anything you want to push there?
Over 6.5 strikeouts for him, even with this game going in Coors Field. He had a career-high strikeouts against this Rockies team earlier this year. He had 10 strikeouts against this team. Obviously, strikeout total is a little bit lower here because we're in Coors Field, but I think with him striking out over a batter an inning, the Rockies today should have 6 players in that lineup with a K rate of over 27% against right-handed pitching, giving him to have at least 7 strikeouts today, which was at even money this morning.
All right, thank you, Steve Buchanan. One of the biggest soccer tournaments on the planet is underway. Football is life, people. Harry Kane, is he in a good spot to tickle the twine? A question we will ask our soccer guru, Chinmay Vaidya, next. life, and the wait for one of the top soccer tournaments in the world is over as the Euro Cup kicked off yesterday. Let's dive into all the fun with Chinmay Vaidya of DraftKings Network. Good Saturday morning to you, Chinmay. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. It's one of the all-time great tournaments where anything can happen, as we saw in the last Euro. There's great storylines all around, and this is one of the most competitive tournaments. Even when looking at the World Cup and some of the other confederation tournaments that they hold, the Euro is always considered one of the most competitive and one of the toughest. So excited to get into it.
All right, well, let's do that. Today's slate here, my friend, providing some entertaining matchups, let's say between Hungary and Switzerland, Spain, Croatia, defending champion Italy versus Albania. Which one lands on your betting card?
So I've got good options really for all three of these matches. The first one, Switzerland, is a plus 115 money line favorite. And Switzerland has been doing really well in international competitions over the last two World Cups. They made it to the round of 16. They were a quarterfinalist at the last Euro in a wild game against France, where they came back from down 3-1 to win in a penalty shootout. There's a really experienced group here: Granit Xhaka, Jan Sommer, Hernan Shaqiri, Remo Freuler. They've got a really experienced group, and that's what tends to pay off at these types of tournaments when you're going up against some of the best sides in the world. So I like Switzerland to start out this Euro strong, and plus 115 as a money line favorite. It doesn't get much better than that. Spain, Croatia. Croatia appears to be really undervalued here when you look at the money line odds. But if you start playing around with the spreads and totals, you can actually see that there's really strong pull for Croatia in terms of fluctuation. You can't really get too much value backing Croatia. So without picking the outright upset, because I do think Spain are a very talented side. They did make the semifinals at the last Euro. I'll go Croatia double chance here, which comes at minus 115. Again, sort of like Switzerland, I think the experience of Croatia is what sets this team apart. This is kind of Croatia's golden generation here. Can they add one trophy to that trophy cabinet? I think they start off strong against Spain. I don't know if they win, but I'll take them to get at least a draw here. And minus 115 on the double chance is pretty solid. Now, as far as Italy is concerned,
Yeah.
the last time Italy came into any sort of competition with that championship pedigree was the 2010 World Cup, and they flamed out in the group stage. So it'll be interesting to see if Italy can get off to a strong start, having being the current Euro holders. But I do think Albania is just not talented enough to match up with Italy. So I'll go with Italy minus 260 on the money line. That's the play there.
Okay, so you mentioned Spain, and the first thing that pops into my mind is this like 16-year-old phenom. It's playing for the team. Lamine Yamal will likely take the pitch for Spain. Kid just finished his first season as a pro footballer for FC Barcelona a week or so ago, Chinmay. Before I ask you about a bet having to do with this kid, what do we need to know about him? This is unbelievable to me.
He's an intriguing young talent, and we'll see at this Euro what he can do after a decent season with Barcelona. I wouldn't say it was spectacular, but again, he is only 16 years old. So we've seen these types of players come up in the last few years. Obviously, Mbappe is the best example of this, but even Lionel Messi was not that old when he starred at Barcelona. These big clubs have identified young talent early, and oftentimes it has worked out. So we'll see if he works out for Spain here. I don't know how much run he's going to get, and I don't know if he's going to start, given the quality in this team, but definitely a talent to watch out for at this Euro and in the coming seasons for Barcelona.
So then he's plus 380 anytime goal scorer prop. Since I guess we're not quite sure if he's going to start or not, how much does that factor into your decision in betting that?
It's a big factor because you look at a team, particularly in this game against Croatia. This is a tough matchup for Spain. This is not a pushover team by any means, and I know that Italy will draw a lot of the headlines with Spain and Italy being in the semifinals at the last Euro. But Croatia has been to a World Cup final and was in the World Cup semifinal, I believe, in 2022. So this is not an easy game for Spain by any means. I don't think they're going to experiment too much with the side. If you're looking for a goal scorer, I actually like Yamal's teammate, Ferran Torres at Barcelona at plus 275. He's more intriguing for me. He's had a good run with Spain, was solid with Barcelona in front of goal. I think he offers a little more value, little more chance of him getting big minutes for Spain in this one.
All right, what other props are you eyeing for today's slate of games, Chinmay?
I like Briel Mbolo for Switzerland as plus 200 anytime goal scorer. A really good forward for them. He was excellent in domestic campaign and was good at the World Cup for Switzerland as well. If Croatia is going to score a goal, I think Luka Modric is going to be involved in some way. He's at plus 600 to give an assist, and that's tremendous value given how Modric plays the game. He tends to control the midfield, likes to set up the forwards, doesn't push as much himself. But Croatia are very, very talented up front, and they like to control that midfield. They've got a lot of experience there with Modric being the center of that. So I think plus 600 to give one assist is good value for Modric.
And as we turn the page to Sunday, I'm a big Sunday guy. So we got 3 matches here to choose from. Doesn't look like the odds are as close or as tight or as fat and wide as yesterday's or Saturday's rather. What is your lean right now in terms of what we have to choose from for Sunday's matches?
Sunday fun day, right?
Yeah, let's go, big
England
man.
and Serbia is the game to look for on Sunday. It's an exciting contest between a team that has a lot of firepower up front in Serbia and an England squad that is looking to kind of redeem itself after falling flat at Wembley in the last Euro final. I'm going to go over 2.5 goals. I think there's so much scoring potential here on both sides that I think the over at minus 110 is great value there. Denmark is kind of in a similar boat as Switzerland and Croatia, this kind of under the radar experienced team. Denmark did not have a good 2022 World Cup, and that was rough for them because they were excellent at the last Euro. They made the semifinal, I believe, and lost to England. So I'll take Denmark over Slovenia minus 130 on the money line. Those are probably the 2 team bets for Sunday that I like.
Okay, goal score props though for tomorrow for Sunday here, Chinmay. Harry Kane atop that list, minus 110. Is he someone you're going to target to score a goal tomorrow?
I think there are better value plays elsewhere outside of that England-Serbia game. I like Cody Gakpo at plus 150. He had a really good World Cup for Netherlands, was very solid with Liverpool, given how they rotated those forwards domestic season. So I think Gakpo at plus 150 is really solid. And I like Wind for Denmark at plus 180. He had a really good domestic campaign and was solid in the World Cup, even though Denmark failed to really capitalize on some of the opportunities that they had. I think he's a good bet at plus 180, but I think Gakpo plus 150 is the best value play there.
Hey, right now, Chinmay, Mbappe, Kane, Ronaldo, who do you like to be the top goal scorer in the tournament overall?
It's interesting because Ronaldo is probably the one who will do most of the scoring if Portugal want to advance and go far. But I think Mbappe is coming off a season and an off season where he's making this move to Real Madrid. He's shown how much he can score, even in a quick flash, even in that World Cup final. He scored a couple quick goals to put France back in it. I think France has the best chance to go far, even though they have a tough group stage. Give me Mbappe as the best chance to be the leading goal scorer at this Euro.
All right. Any other props at all? Any other Sunday bets that you want to deliver to the people right now before we move on?
I think you can roll with all the favorites Sunday. Outside of maybe England and Serbia, I think that game can be a little high scoring and maybe England doesn't quite outmatch Serbia in terms of goals. But I think Denmark and Netherlands are pretty solid to back as the favorites. I don't think they'll have much trouble in their game Sunday.
And 'tis the season of tournaments here, Chinmay, because not to be overshadowed by the Euros, but Copa America starts on Thursday, defending World Cup champions. That would be Argentina, going to be squaring off against Canada, followed by Friday night's Peru and Chile matchup. Any bets for this tournament that you're on? Looks like, Messi is going to focus on this, leave Miami. He already says he's not going to take part in the Olympics now just because he's 36.
So let's flash back to the Copa America in 2021. So the last Copa America. And Argentina came into that with Messi having no international trophies, to his name. Despite all these accolades at the domestic level, there was a question of whether Messi would truly be considered an all-time footballer if he didn't win anything for Argentina. And, flash forward here, and he won the Copa America, he won the World Cup, and now everything is just gravy from here for Lionel Messi. So I think Argentina, this is just a celebration for them, kind of a coronation of a generation that finally succeeded in achieving international glory. Canada is a talented side, but I think they're overmatched in this one. So give me Argentina.
All right, Chinmay, I wish you well. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We got to kick off the second hour of the Sweat after this break, diving into what we just witnessed in Game 4 of the NBA Finals.
Happy Saturday. Welcome back into the sweat. Julian, Stephen Emerson are taking a break. We're going to talk a little bit of NBA Finals later in the segment. But first, let's take a look at what we have covered so far on the show. Leaking oil, Florida. Panthers are on the cusp of sweeping in the Stanley Cup. So we'll talk some hockey earlier. Bronx Bombers, the Yankees came in and just destroyed the Red Sox on the opening game of that series. Nobody here in Boston watched it because they were all watching the Celtics get smoked by the Mavericks simultaneously. But if you listened to the show earlier, Steve gave some numbers back in the Yankees again today and goals galore. Talked a little bit of soccer as you saw in that previous segment. But now, we didn't know when we were doing the run of show for this show. Are we going to be talking about the Celtics recapping the sweep of the Dallas Mavericks, or are we going to be going to a Game 5 of the NBA Finals? And it is the latter. So for the occasion, we're bringing in friend of the show, Joe Delaire from the Action Network. Joe, how we doing, dude?
Hey, it's a good day. We got a little bit extra basketball, so I was worried that we were going to have multiple sweeps in all these finals that we're watching right now.
Yeah, indeed. So, the Celtics dominated essentially those first three games, found ways to win. They let go of the rope at times, but made it work in crunch time. Last night was a different story. Mavericks punched first, as I think a lot of us would expect, but that push never came on the Boston side. It just it kept extending and extending through the second, through the third quarter, and essentially, I can't remember in an NBA Finals game guys getting benched this early. Benched in the third quarter, fourth quarter didn't matter. Unless Tim Hardaway seeing 5 threes go through the net is going to carry over some momentum into a Game 5 after not scoring in literally a month. But I think this one is just going to be wipe your hands clean. It's going to be remember that gentleman's sweep that the Celtics had where the Mavericks won a game by 40 and the Celtics dominated the rest of the series. How are you thinking about what last night meant to the series, and how do you think the rest of the series goes?
Yeah, I mean, last night it was really just that I think Boston came out and they didn't stick to their game plan. Their game plan has been, aggressive cutting, like excellent ball movement, excellent spacing, and they didn't really get that in this game. When we look at even their shot profile, they still took 50% of their shots from three, but a little bit of that's wonky given, what the score was, what the situation was. But it did seem like the ball wasn't making its way around the same way. Tatum and Brown both, they had been leading the series in potential assists. They've been leading the series for Boston in terms of actually dishing the basketball, and they never really got there. Brown only had 3 potential assists yesterday after averaging about 11 during the series. And, I know his time on the court was cut a little bit short at the end, not playing the fourth quarter. But either way, it seemed like the ball wasn't making its way. They weren't going through their progressions in the same way. And they just didn't have it. Like, Dallas came out desperate, fired up, and I think a lot of that mattered. Like, they were crushing on the offensive glass. They were killing them on second chance points. Those are all things that are rectifiable, and a lot of it is effort-based, I think. Yeah. And those are things that Boston should be able to regulate, Game 5, reset, heading home, playing in Boston.
I mean, in my mind, a lot of people thought that and picked Dallas in Game 3 to kind of make it a series, and the Celtics proved a lot in that game. Game 4 was a little bit more of, now the Mavericks are playing with house money. They have absolutely nothing to lose. And the Celtics, it was their first time on that stage with a chance to close it out, and I think they were a little nervous. Now, they might also be a little nervous to capitalize on the opportunity at home, because I know that would be really important to them. So maybe a little bit of a nervous start to Game 5. But I think that I like the spot. I mean, the Celtics off a loss all season has been a pretty good spot for the last few years. I think coming off that type of loss with how poorly they played, there's also a good chance they look pretty sharp early. So I know you're a guy that bets a lot of first quarter props, and those are available and up already. For me, I'll just give you some of mine first. I'm going to play the Celtics first half in this game. I think they're going to look good out of the gates. Again, maybe a little bit of nerves early, first 3, 4, 6 minutes of that first quarter. But I think they're going to get it together after a loss like that, play some of that basketball that they played in the third quarter of Game 3, which was arguably their best of the season, and create a little bit of margin in this game and be in a good opportunity to wind up clinching this thing late in Game 5. But let's go to early in this one because we'll start on the Celtics side since I was just talking Celtics. Jason Tatum's a guy that I bet a lot on the first quarter prop when Porzingis went out. It just goes to numbers. Rotation-wise, he gets the minutes. He's been a little bit better scoring for them on the road than at home. At home, other guys can get involved a little bit more. But tell me why you like his first quarter prop in Game 5.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's now gone over this in 10 of 12 games without Porzingis in the first quarter during the postseason. And the biggest swing is that we see him play essentially the entire first quarter. And that's a pretty big bump. It's about a 50% bump off of what his, or I guess 33% bump off of what his normal minutes are, because he's either playing 8 or 12 minutes, something like that. So the Boston Celtics run a lot of set plays for Porzingis to start the game. Al Horford isn't really getting those same looks. So a lot of this tends to go to Tatum. And I think that given what happened last game as well, like I thought Tatum was going to come out firing because he might want to try to gun for this finals MVP. To me, I know that Brown is the favorite to win finals MVP, but now we're getting like a little bit more removed. We're getting a couple more days removed from all those good Brown performances. If Tatum has a really incredible Game 5, starts off hot, commands the game from start to finish in a Boston win, maybe that's something that turns the tide for him. I think both these guys, they're saying all the right things in the media, but to me, I think that it was evident in Game 4 that they were both kind of trying to get their shot. They were both trying to go for it. And to me, I think that Tatum has higher upside given in like an expanded role here as a scorer. So I like him to go over the 6.5 first quarter points. I just think the line is a bit too low, especially considering the fact that he's averaging closer to 9 in these games without Porzingis. We'll see if Porzingis even plays. But even if he does, I'm not too nervous about it right now, given the fact that like he's had this injury and he still hasn't played in either of these last two.
Yeah, gut call for me on Porzingis. They made it very, I don't know if you want to say Joe Mazzulla made it very clear, but you could pick up what he was putting down, that Kristaps Porzingis at this point is essentially a human victory cigar. And he is going to step on the floor if there is, if the Celtics are insured to be winning the championship, and they have the margin to do so. So that's the way I'm taking it. We'll see. He's going to practice and do shoot around and probably suit up again for Game 5, and we'll see if anything changes. I guess there's a couple of off days where he can improve to the point maybe you want to consider giving him 10 minutes or something. We'll see, but I think it's going to be a pretty similar human victory cigar type of situation. Let's go to Luka. You and I were talking before the segment. Last game was probably the best spot you could have asked for Luka Doncic first quarter points. Mavericks are coming off a bad loss. The narrative all game about the end of last game with him fouling out is that he needs to show up in this game. He's getting the painkiller injections before the game, so he's literally playing his best basketball, most pain-free basketball, the earlier we are in the game. But you really feel, sure, a spot makes it easier to bet, but you feel like this is one that you can just keep going back to all series?
Yeah, like I generally like to play Luka in the first quarter after a loss. You know, he always comes out a little bit more aggressive, but here, in a way, it's kind of the same thing given the fact that it's an elimination game. So I think that he's going to come out hot. He's had 13 first quarter points in each of the last 3 games. And it's not like he missed by a ton in Game 1. He had 7. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was a completely different rotation defensively that he's looking at compared to Minnesota. Now he's kind of figured it out a little bit. And his best strength has been getting into the paint. It's actually not been making threes. Like he was 0 for 8 last game, 1 for 7 the game before. And when he's driving into the paint, getting into the teeth of the defense, he's able to generate some contact, generate some fouls. And I think that helps his floor here as well in terms of getting to the rack and getting some extra points. So the 8.5, I'm a little surprised we got it again, given just what he's been able to do over the past couple of games. And even if there are certain like schematic changes from Boston defensively, Boston really doesn't blitz. Like they don't send that type of coverage help. They want to cover you one-on-one, and Luka getting a bunch of shots up is something that Boston, I think, is going to just live with, given the fact that usually when he has extra volume, there's usually a level of like inefficiency as well. So either way, Luka's going to be pretty ball dominant. I like him to go over 8.5 first quarter points in this game. Wouldn't hate a sprinkle on like 12 plus or something like that either at a plus number, given what he's been able to do so far through the series.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. 12 plus is plus 155. I was initially going to say maybe we can get even money on 10, which I did last game.
Yeah.
Nope, minus 130 because the 8.5 is juiced to minus 142.
Oh,
So
so that got nuked a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with 10. I feel like you would say the same, judging off your analysis.
Agreed.
So if you don't want to lay the 140 plus, go ahead and go there. I'll just end with one team prop for the first half. I gave you the laying the points first half. I often bet Celtics first half team total at home. They're the best first half offense in the NBA. They see a little uptick, small, but an uptick in terms of scoring at home. And I just think the way they came out game one and played really well, I think we're going to see something similar. Again, maybe some nerves for a couple of minutes, but something similar. Anything for you, Joe? We got like a minute left on the rest of the game. I'm going to be focused on the first half mostly, but I do think the Celtics wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that Boston's able to wrap up this series. I think the 6.5 this open with is okay. I think the 7 is probably fine as well. I do like that first half team total over though, because the fourth quarters outside of the blowout have just been going under. The pace slows down.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit gummy. So that first half look is great. I'm definitely going to be tailing you on that one.
We're also just like, this also might not be a normal fourth quarter. This could be one of those clinching fourth quarters where things just get weird. Like look back to 2008 when the Celtics clinched at home. There's people all around the court. It's not real basketball being played. So I think focusing, and again, the both bets you gave out were first quarter bets. So I think we're focusing early on this one, and we'll see what this game looks like late, because it's going to be a little bit different. Thank you, Joe, for joining us here on The Sweat on this Saturday, talking NBA Finals. We will see how this all plays out on Monday night, and we will be right back on the other side of the break here on DK Network and VSiN.
All right, Pinehurst number 2, giving players absolute fits on Thursday and really yesterday, giving more players than others fits. Of course, playing firm and fast. It was a hot day. Balls were on the green, and then balls were not on the green. Lip outs, 3 jacks, all the misery typically associated with the U.S. Open. Speaking of misery, let's see what our gorgeous golf guru, Jeff Ulrich, thinks of everything. Hanging out with us from Edmonton this morning. So he's a little on edge ahead of Game 4 tonight versus the Panthers, aren't we, Jeff?
Little on edge. I mean, I've been on just the edge. I mean, I'm not even like hanging over the edge. I'm just basically like falling at this point. But yeah. it's a little, it's raining here too. It's been raining, and then it's the Oilers. It's all about the edge right now.
Yeah,
It's not
no,
good.
for sure. It took you 4 days to text me back. I was just trying to check in on you and make sure you were still with us. And then you finally
I just wanted
texted.
to keep the drama high. I just wanted to keep you guessing, pal. That's all.
As you said in our text chain, real couples fight. So listen, you're on edge there in Edmonton. I'm on edge looking at my U.S. Open bets, Jeff. Biggest surprise to miss the cut, and why is it Victor Hovland? But real quick, as we show people watching right now, Jeff, the leaderboard, you see the 8 guys on the screen there. I have a fun fact. In 26 of the last 28 U.S. Opens, the eventual winner has been within 3 shots after 36 holes. The exceptions were Webb Simpson in 2012 and Brooks Koepka in 2018. So if that holds, the 8 dudes that we just saw on our screen will be the eventual champion this week. Okay? So you know who we don't see on there, Jeff? Victor Hovland. A couple other big names missing the cut. Biggest surprise to you?
I know. I mean, it's Hovland,
Yeah.
100%. I bet him for this event.
Me too.
I liked him. I really think that, if you just look at what happened to Hovland, and it can happen to anyone, is he just got off to a bad start. It sounds so simple, but doubled his first hole, just got a little bit unlucky with the lie, and it just kind of snowballed there. He was absolutely fine in his second round. He shot 68. I think that the upside for there is Hovland's with Hovland still. It just didn't happen at this event. There's no harm in it, but that second round 68 probably speaks volumes to me that just got a little bit unlucky. There's a couple other players. Robert McIntyre's a little surprising coming off the win. Adam Hadwin's been playing well. Alex Noren as well, but Zalatoris is another one we could probably talk about for a while. But Jason Day. But Hovland really sticks out. I mean, Hovland was the guy, like all these other dudes I just mentioned, they could have got in the mix. Like I think Jason Day could have got in the mix had the putter heated up, whatever. But like Hovland was expected to contend. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily give up on Hovland either. He's been a great Open player. So we still got one more major, but certainly the most disappointing of the weekend. Absolutely.
Hovland, highest ranked player in the world to be missing from the weekend tee sheet there at Pinehurst. I thought Scotty Scheffler there. I mean, Tiger Woods is missing as well. Maybe we'll get to him in a second here, Jeff, but we were talking yesterday. Scotty Scheffler, I thought he was going to miss the cut. Ended up being saved there towards the end, so just barely makes it at 5 over. He finally looked human. What happened to him, Jeff?
Again, I think it's just in simple golf terms, he's just lost his swing a bit. He's just started to make some misses that we've never seen Scotty Scheffler miss. He's hitting some double crosses, like not knowing where the ball's going. It's just a human thing. I mean, I don't really think there's anything else to it than that you can only play at the level that Scotty Scheffler has been playing at for so long. I mean, for basically a year, Scotty Scheffler has just been every shot. He knows where the ball's going. It's 10 feet to the hole. Like every single shot, there's just so many rare misses where it's like, what was that? Like from Scotty Scheffler. Yeah. So, most golfers, even the top pros, will just have a few more misses than that. And I think that's just what we're seeing from Scheffler. He's, again, just from what he's put together over the last year and a half, one of the most impressive stretches is certainly since Tiger. So no shame in it. I mean, he still made the cut. That's the crazy thing, as bad as he played. So, I don't know. It's one of those things with Scheffler, like before we could point to it, it was the putter. Now it's like, well, I mean, maybe he's just cooling off a little bit. We'll see how long this lasts or if this even lasts longer than one tournament. Certainly we've seen guys go through slumps, but I don't expect this to be a long slump for Scotty Scheffler.
No.
But nice that he's showing some signs of not being a complete robot at this point.
He was doomed the minute Monty the barber gave him that haircut earlier in the week. He really was. But Jeff, as I'm looking in that group down at the bottom, are there any bets that interest you with some of these guys who could make a move up, maybe even top 20? Maybe
Yeah.
you think Scotty puts it together and you want to get real aggressive with like a top 10. Like, I'm looking down there. You got guys like Brooks. You got guys like Fleetwood. I don't think they're going to be in a 62 shot over the weekend, but we've seen Fleetwood do that 61-62 thing in the final round of the U.S. Open like a couple times. Is there any guy you'd be willing to back in terms of betting here? Because yesterday you said today is going to be a very tough day. USGA tends to make Saturday very tough. So tomorrow could be almost the traditional moving day, the non-traditional moving day.
Yeah, I mean, look, Fleetwood was playing fine before he had a 5 or 6 hole stretch. I think, again, if you're looking to get in on any of these guys, it does make sense. They're going out earlier, right? The course is going to be more receptive, and their odds are really big. I mean, Fleetwood is plus 1,600. Koepka's already teed off, but you can bet the live odds on DraftKings as well for these guys. So I'm just looking at scores right now. Like it's again, like there's no birdies out here, even just from the first couple groups. This is going to be a tough day. So if one of these guys shoots like 2 under, they may move up like 30 spots. So I think Fleetwood and Scheffler are both interesting for that. I don't necessarily know if I'd have the gumption to go top 10. Maybe you want to go top 20. I think you're still going to get really good odds. I would probably actually aim for Fleetwood. Like I said, I mean, he's played okay. The putter hasn't really done anything for him, but if he has that one hot putting round, like he seems to every U.S. Open, Fleetwood is probably a nice top 20 bet at this point. So that's kind of where I'd be looking. He's plus 1,600 in the top 10 market as well, which pretty appealing. I just don't think these guys are going to have to do that much. I mean, they're going to have to play well, but it's playing so tough today, in my opinion, that a 2 under round could really see these guys move up. So yeah, there's definitely some interest there. I would be more inclined to go a little bit further up with some top 10 bets, though, if I was doing that.
And if you really start to hone in on that stat I gave earlier, again, 26 of the last 28 U.S. Opens, the eventual winner has been within 3 shots after 36 holes. So we can punch up that top 8 on the leaderboard again, Jeff. And you made a good point yesterday when we were talking. Good chunk of guys here searching for their first major. And you see some of them on the page, like Oberg. This does not look like a fluke, and nobody has won in their debut at the U.S. Open in 111 years. A couple other guys on the screen right now looking for major number 1. Cantlay, Dietrich, Finau in there as well. Which of those dudes do you like to potentially close this thing out?
I mean, I will say this: Dietrich is really interesting player. He's really high-end putter. His approach game has been good. I'm not necessarily making him my pick. I'm just pointing that out. If I was making like one single bet and I had one unit and you said, Jeff, like you got to give me a winner from these guys, I would take Bryson. I think plus 400 is actually a pretty fair price. He's priced the same as Rory. Rory's 1 shot back. I'm not really sure what Rory's done to deserve a premium in a major at this point. Bryson has showed up at the first 2 majors. Bryson's driving it great. He's got the high ball flight to hold the greens. He knows how to work these tough U.S. Open courses when they get tougher. He's been a guy who shot, 67 to win a U.S. Open. He's got the experience edge. I just like the way Bryson's clicked. He's playing smart golf. He's developed better course management. And I think that kind of made me overlook him a little bit. That's something I overlooked a little bit. I picked him to win the first 2 majors, and then I didn't pick him here. But I think getting on him at this price is actually quite fine. For sure. As you said, the winner is probably coming from up top. So like the way Bryson has played a lot the first 2 rounds, I would take him over Rory and Oberg right now. But it's really close. I mean, I certainly Oberg is like, I won't be shocked if he wins. He is just a supreme talent, and I can't emphasize enough. If this dude does not win this week, start making some futures for next year, because next year could be the year of Oberg. So those are Bryson is the guy I'm looking at. If I was going further back, absolutely give me Hideki though at plus 1,400. That is a dude, in my opinion, who could make a big move. He played a really good round yesterday. His round yesterday could have been like 6 under. He left a couple putts out there. So Hideki, absolutely do not write him off.
Yeah, and DeChambeau said recently that his best golf he played came before his U.S. Open win in 2020 at Winged Foot. And he confirmed that this year's major championship performances, Jeff, have been back at that level that he was in 2018 when he won 4 times on the PGA Tour. So we have about a minute to go here, Jeff. Any other props or bets that you want to push very quickly before we get to break?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned the top 10, top 20 market. I mean, I just think just looking here, like you're getting some really interesting numbers on some players. I mean, Sergio Garcia's played well. I think for a top 20 plus 130 makes a lot of sense. But the guy I really like there for that market, Nikolai Hogard at plus 210, gaining strokes on approach. He's big off the tee. We're talking talents with like guys like Oberg up top and guys who haven't won majors and Detry, but Hogard definitely belongs in that category. I think plus 210 for a guy who's in T21 right now for a top 20, gained a bunch of strokes on approach in his second round there. Really like that. If you want a quick matchup bet, Hogard minus 135 versus SH Kim as well for round 3. I like that. I know it's a short number, but give me Hogard there.
All right, Jeff, we'll have you back tomorrow to talk some Sunday bets along with Kelly Bidlin. But right now it's time to turn our attention to the WNBA. Godspeed tonight, by the way, in Edmonton. Why opposing players hate Caitlin Clark, and which bets catch Tyler Shoemaker's eyes on a loaded weekend slate? Welcome back to The Sweat, everybody. 4 weeks into the WNBA season right now. We got spicy storylines galore. We got historic ratings. We got stars, new and old, on the rise, which is why we have Tyler Shoemaker of VSiN, creator of the T-Shoe Index, joining us now. Top of the morning, King. How has this season been so far in your eyes?
It's been great. It's been very exciting. And, obviously from a betting standpoint, you always like to see your tickets cashing, and we're up about 10 units right now,
Yes.
for everyone that's followed my best bets. So we're doing well. So hopefully we can keep it going. There's about a month break here coming up in July for the Olympics. So hopefully we can keep the momentum at least into that.
Absolutely. Now you have everybody's attention, knowing you are good at what you do. And of course, I have a non-betting question to start things off, because another week full of beef between WNBA players and Caitlin Clark here, man, who's been subjected to some harsh treatment, I think that's fair to say, on the court from rival players. Shaq said the other day she's a victim of professional jealousy. Why do you think players around the league don't like her?
That's the $1 million question, right? I think she conducts herself very well. She handles the media very well. She plays the game very well. Obviously, she's a rookie. She's taken her lumps, but even despite her, quote unquote, taking her lumps, she's still averaging like 15, 6, and 5 or so. Her numbers are insane for a rookie, especially when you factor in the expectations that were on her shoulders. It's very similar to like when LeBron came into the NBA with all of the hype and the expectation, and he delivered. But there were no doubt his detractors. There still are. And it's the same thing with Caitlin. So to hear some of the veterans kind of just, like you said, be so jealous of her early on, it's like they've wanted the WNBA to get the attention that it's getting for a long time. But now it's like, now that they're getting it, they think, well, why didn't we get that attention? Why didn't I get that attention? So it's, it's a jealousy thing. But at the end of the day, she's going to line everyone's pockets because she is a walking viewership boost. So I think she's great for the league, and I think she's off to a really good rookie season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think she's adjusting to pro-life. Really, she's impressed me in that department. And she and the Fever also, if you really dive into the numbers, which I know you're a numbers guy, like their opening schedule here, T, like one that's included 3 losses already to the first place Connecticut Sun, who will be taking on the Dallas Wings today, by the way. Which side of this matchup are you backing on the DK Sportsbook here, T?
Yeah, I'm on the Sun. Line opened at 5, got bet to 6.5. I still like it at 6.5. I project the Sun -10. So I'm all over them. The Wings have been really disappointing. I bet their season win total over. I grossly underestimated how bad they would be without Satu Sabali in the lineup with a shoulder injury. She's still expected to be out for another couple of months. So the Wings are pretty bad right now. So I'm going to ride with the Sun today.
Yeah, and it does feel like the Sun are just building something special this season, which I think evidence there is a league best defense that's allowing just to tick over 70 points per game. So that's nearly 5 points better than the closest challenger, T.
Yeah, the Sun are number one in my defensive ratings as well. So no matter which way you slice it, they've got the best defense in the league. They're suffocating. I like betting their unders, obviously, for that reason. Player prop unders for the opponents, also a viable option there too from a betting standpoint.
Yeah, I think game of the day, though. Game of the day, no doubt, Liberty and the Aces. Rematch of last year's finals here. 2 teams currently atop the championship odds board. But you tell me, Tyler, the defending champion Aces are facing more adversity here. So they have already, 4 losses? That's something that didn't happen until August last season for them. How close are we to Las Vegas fans hitting the panic button?
Well, I think if you're a Vegas fan, you can take solace in the fact that Chelsea Gray hasn't played yet. But in my opinion, she's the best passer in the league, bar none. She's a wizard with the ball. That being said, she's not in the lineup, and they have not looked the part of 2-time defending champs. And in this game against the Liberty, odds makers still are favoring the Aces by 2 right now. I've got the Liberty favored by 3 here, so I'm all over the Liberty. I'm gonna to take the points with the Liberty here. I think they're gonna cover and win outright.
All right, my man. Well, where would you have New York in your power rankings, though? Because they are, they boast, I think, arguably the top trio in the league. Not to mention 7 straight wins now.
Yeah, absolutely. They're playing great now. They kind of were a little inconsistent early on. They've kind of found their footing here. Like you said, undoubtedly the best star trio in the league. However, I've got them from a power standpoint. I've got them third,
Yeah.
but they're only 0.2 of a point behind number 2 Connecticut, and I've got the Minnesota Lynx number 1 by about 2.5 points right now.
Interesting. Let's go to tomorrow here, because this is a game a lot of people are going to have their eyes on. The Sky and the Fever. Doesn't exactly pair up powerhouses like the Aces and Liberties we just talked about, but we've got storylines out to wazoo. So we've already mentioned Clark getting baptized by fire this year, T, and Indiana's last meeting with Chicago. We all know what happened there. That gave us that drama. Angel Reese, the rivalry, Kennedy Carter knocking Clark to the floor. Could you make an argument this is the game of the weekend, though?
From a viewership standpoint, absolutely. Like I said, especially with the Aces not looking quite themselves, that game would maybe have a little more luster. But with them looking like they have, I think this is undoubtedly the game of the weekend. Like you mentioned, the bump heard around the world with Kennedy Carter and Caitlin Clark. I'm excited to see it. I project the Sky actually as 8.5 point favorites here, which is a little more than odds maker. So I would be on the Sky in this matchup.
Okay. And then, Angel Reese is kind of, she's had some comments throughout the media saying, hey, it's about me too, which she's definitely not wrong. And then what can you say about her performance? Also here, T, like on the court, an impressive 9.6 rebounds per game. That includes a league high 48 offensive rebounds, man.
Yeah, she, obviously in a different way than Caitlin Clark, but she absolutely impacts the game. I love her motor. I mean, she's gonna, refine her offensive game, no doubt. Definitely work on the jumper a little bit, but my gosh, you can't question her athleticism, her length, her toughness. She's got that Baltimore attitude. I love watching her play, just obviously in a different way.
So Storm Mercury, also, this is a big one, nationally televised game tomorrow. Seattle's 0-3 against Minnesota this season. I think you already said Minnesota is your top team in your power rankings. But Seattle's 9-1 against everybody else. That's good news for them as they're in Phoenix to face the Mercury, who they've knocked off once already this year. What is your prediction in this game, T?
Yeah, I've got the Storm -3.5. I think they're really hitting their stride as well. That's, they added Nneka Ogwumike in the offseason. So trying to, and Skylar Diggins. So trying to acclimate those stars in with Jewell Loyd, I think took just a little bit, but they're really hitting their stride. I wrote about them this week at VSiN.com. You can get them at plus 1,700 for championship odds. I think that might be worth a consideration. I think they're a really good team with a really high ceiling.
All right, and while Clark didn't get the Olympic nod here, LA rookie Cameron Brink, she did for the women's 3-on-3 team. So she ranks third in the league with nearly 3 blocks per game. Tomorrow, she and the Sparks going to be in Atlanta to face the Dream. What is going to be your move? What are your numbers? What is the T-Shoe Index telling you?
Well, I don't know if Tyler Shoemaker agrees with the T-Shoe Index on this one. I've got Atlanta -7 here, but my God, Atlanta, the last couple of games, they lost to the previously winless Mystics, and then they lost to the Fever the other night. They're really in a free fall right now. I don't know that I would trust them to lay 7 points. I don't know what the spread is. It hasn't come out yet at the time of recording this, so I would probably look to back the Sparks here in this matchup, as Atlanta, like I said, is kind of in a free fall right now.
All right, so let me just ask you real quick before what else you got cooking. Aces on top of the odds board, plus 130. Liberty, plus 200. Connecticut Sun, plus 600. Are you kidding me? Which team would you back right now to win this thing?
Yeah, and like I said, I wrote about this exact concept this week at VSiN, and I think there are 3 teams worth a look on the futures market, and that's the Sun, who we talked about have the best defense in the league. The Lynx, who are plus 1,600, who are number 1 in my power ratings right now. I don't know that they quite have the star power ceiling that some of these other teams do, so that would kind of concern me with them long term. And then the Storm at plus 1,700, I think they do have the ceiling and the star power to potentially win a championship. So I think those are good value plays.
Damn, yeah, Lynx plus 900, then Seattle Storm at plus 1,400. Before you take off, my friend, hook me up. What else can we expect from you and the T-Shoe Index here soon, besides your WNBA content?
Yeah, I'm finishing up my college football and NFL guides. Those will be out within the next month for sure. More details on that. Be sure to follow me on X at Tshu Index to get the details on that. But yeah, definitely a football guy as well. So I'll have college football and NFL projections on every game and all that.
All right, give me a little sneak peek. Who are you extremely high on in college football right now? Very quickly.
Yeah, I think no surprise as a Buckeye, Ohio State looks really good this year. I think Oregon really good. A surprise team that maybe not a surprise, but one team that I'm higher on than most, I think, would be Missouri. I bet their season win total over, so I'm really high on Missouri going into the season.
Oh, yeah, built by Blaine Gabbert, baby. Love it. All right, Tyler, great catching up with you, my dude. Let's do it again soon. One more break to go, people. One more block to go. We're hitting the cool down, recapping some of our best bets. We're going to wrap things up here on The Sweat right after this. back here live on The Sweat, everybody, on DK Network. Also, VSiN, a program we bring you here most Saturdays and Sunday mornings from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm Emerson Lotze, Steve Buchanan, Julian Edlow. We're going to bring you home last block of the show. Right meow. Gentlemen, have we learned anything today? Steve, what did you learn? Because I know you're big on learning.
You know, I want to actually bring this story public. I learned that you don't know what SS.
That's what I was going to say from what I learned.
All right. Hey, I've got time. 10 minutes to be exact. Let me tell you something here, folks. I'm out and
story
about
shouldn't come from your
wandering.
vantage
All right, go
Right,
ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I, as I mentioned off the top of the show, went to the Red Sox game on Thursday. Took a train. I live in the burbs. I have a family. Took a train into South Station, which is what you do here. Emerson asked me where I was. I said, I'm heading to SS, South Station. Emerson then walked over to the local Shake Shack and said, "Are you here, man?" To which I was typing, "No, you idiot. I'm on the way to South Station." But before I sent that, I just deleted it and said, "I might as well have fun here." Yes, I'm there.
So
Emerson walked in and did not find me at the local Shake Shack as I was headed to South Station to then walk over to Fenway Park and enjoy my night.
I mean, to be fair, in your defense.
Thank you.
No, hold on. We're not going that deep. In your defense, I've never heard anyone refer to South Station as SS.
Yes.
So there's that. Also, I have never heard
Dude.
anybody refer to Shake Shack as SS either.
my wife and I go to our neighborhood Shake Shack quite a bit when we're feeling lazy and don't feel like cooking.
That's
and
fine,
would
yeah,
like
that's
to
fine.
enjoy one of their delicious glizzies, burgers, chicken nuggets, crinkle fries, Shake Shack. Not
Yeah.
an ad, but could be your name here. And I'm out and about walking through the neighborhood and when he says SS, I said, "Oh, dude, stay right where you are. I'm 2 blocks from you. And if you have any extra fries left over, I will have them." And so I'm going over there with my gym bag and walk in and poor guy fooled me, stood me up. We were going to have a date and he stood me up.
Yeah, I don't think
You're
that
an
was
idiot.
ever the premise. Like, it's hard to stand somebody up when there never was like a confirmation.
You know who wouldn't stand up? Bill Belichick is his new 24-year-old
Oh!
girlfriend, former cheerleader.
my God.
That's a headline that has been making headlines this week.
You are smooth.
Okay, yeah, smooth operator, that's for sure. What about your top bets today, guys? In case people are just tuning in now and they're
What
like,
other
"Wow,
headlines have
Julian
been
and
making headlines?"
Julian and Emerson really have a poor relationship." What's your top bet of
You're
the
just
day,
an idiot.
Jules? That's true. They have learned that.
I mean, if we're looking at just today, I am probably going to do what I did last night and join Steve on his Yankees first five. These aren't good spots for the Red Sox. Probably going to be another Yankees crowd. Pitching mismatch.
100%.
Offensive mismatch. It just, everything tilts that way. It seemed like an easy one last night. Not that it'll be easy again, but I think this is one worth riding. So that's one for today. But obviously to go more into my wheelhouse, I think the more I look at it, I think my best bet, and again, there's still more than 48 hours until this game tips, it's probably going to be the Celtics first half team total. The 55.5 is a discount, and it's lower because they're saying this game total overall is going to be lower. Closeout game, tighten up a little bit. But they should come out clicking at home. Like after you play that poorly on the road in that big of a game, I think they should show up at home and, are they going to be nervous the first couple minutes? Sure. But I expect that to turn very quickly in a game like this and expect them to find their groove at home. 55.5 is about as low as you're ever going to see that Celtics first half team total. They average like 65 at home, and they got there in game one. So again, it tightens up a little. This is the 5th time now these teams have seen each other in a row, but after how putrid, literally the 100th out of 100 games played this season, offensive ranking this season. It was the worst offensive game they've had all year. They're going to look better in game 5.
It's the 4th largest deficit in NBA Finals history.
Yeah.
What's that?
A halftime deficit.
It's crazy that it's going to be like the Celtics have a very good chance and are heavily favored to win this series in 5 and make it 4-1. And all the numbers for the series in the end are going to be like around a tie. Just because of one game from Dallas. And people are going to be like, do you remember that time the Celtics went 16-3 in the playoffs? and lost by 40 points to the Mavericks in an NBA Finals game and dominated the rest of the series. It's a weird outlier.
You agree with that 6.5 number for Game 5?
Yeah.
Did it open 7.5 and then tick down to 6.5? I
thought
don't
it
know.
was
Someone was in my
7.
mentions. this
7,
morning.
it's everywhere. But really, honestly, if you look around, it's anywhere from 6.5 to 7.5. So we got a good number right now at DraftKings. I'm not going to touch the full game just because it's kind of a. I don't know where this game is going to be late. I think they're going to have a handle on it, but like these guys get nervous. How many times have we seen NBA Finals games, even going back to like Cavs Warriors, that like there's like 2 points in the last 3 minutes of the game? I want to focus on the Celtics coming out hot. And yeah, if you want to go double result, lead at halftime and win the game, I think that's around minus 150, 160. I think that's a good bet for this game. I don't think I want to be laying points in this spot.
What if they lose?
If they lose,
Starting
I'm going to
to
be really mad because I will have missed the opportunity personally to have been in the building. However, the way this team operates, Game 6 would be a perfect spot for them, to be honest. I know a lot of people would be panicking because now Dallas has the home court, and then they force a Game 7, and then you blow it in the Game 7. I look at that. This team the last couple of years has been almost the opposite in that sense, where Game 6 is where they would show up when the whole, every show is going to be the Mavericks are going to win this. They're going to get Game 6 at home. Those are the games that this team wins on the road. Kind of like the Game 3 of this series.
Monday night is going to be emotional for you because you have your anniversary dinner in the North End before the game.
Yeah.
And then you don't really
I won't
know
be
what's
too
gonna
emotional about that if we're being honest, but the game will make me a little emotional.
happen. Okay, fine.
Thanks
You can
for-
always tell whose wives watch the show and whose wives don't.
I
Oh,
got a
yeah,
text.
you could-
I got a
And you
text.
can tell all three of ours do not. but
I got a
we
text
talk
off the
about
top
it.
of the show after I made reference to, wife and I going to the game on the anniversary night.
What did she say?
It was kiss emojis. It was good.
Oh my
wow.
God.
Yeah.
My wife hasn't
Kissing
watched
hearts.
a single minute of this show.
Well, you can thank her for the support.
My wife is in bed right now.
You
Because
go
I'm
out-
asking her, did our dog poop in her crate again this morning? And she is going to wake up and there's going to be poop everywhere. Steve, which baseball bets are not going to be poop today for you?
So obviously Julian already talked about the Yankees first 5. Like that one a lot, but just targeting that Orioles club today going against Taijuan Walker, I think is going to be another spot you really want to take advantage of. I talked about them going over 2.5 runs through the first 5 innings, going against Taijuan Walker there. Really struggles against left-handed bats, and the Orioles can just completely load up on those lefties. Probably going to have at least 6 or 7 of them in that lineup today, including the first 4 guys you're going to see take the field there with Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Ryan O'Hearn, and Anthony Santander. Really good spot there for the Orioles. And then you can also subsequently take Walker to go under, which is now 16.5 outs recorded. We got this, we were talking about this originally at 15.5. It's moved up to 16.5. Still like the under on that as well. That's a number he's gone under in 5 of the last 6 starts that he's made. This has just really been a trouble spot for him going deep into these games. So really like the Orioles today, like the Yankees on those
What was
first
the first
5.
bet? Not the Walker one. What's the first one you like?
Orioles over 2.5 runs in the first 5
first
innings.
5 team
Yeah.
total, okay.
Yep, first 5 team total.
Are you guys going to watch any of the U.S. Open this weekend? I know you're not like huge
Nah,
golf
no.
guys, but okay. I mean, it's our nation's
I actually,
championship.
I'm no joke. I actually do legitimately want to get more into golf.
Yeah, you should.
Because I do, like for betting purposes,
Yeah.
I actually do feel like it's a lot of fun to do.
It's
because I
awesome. It's-
dabble.
Don't do it for playing purposes. Cause
No,
but I'm
no.
saying
Very
it's
frustrating.
Right.
like today, because today is probably going to be, as Jeff alluded to, it's probably going to be even more chaos than we've seen the first.
Explain
2
to me
days.
what was the issue with the course on Thursday when they were like wetting it down and everything. And
Yeah,
everybody's complaining about
because
that.
literally with the heat and the sun, no
Yeah.
cloud cover out there. If they didn't water these greens, they literally would be like putting on this desk right here.
Yeah.
Which nobody, no matter how good you are at golf, could putt on a surface like this. So you have
'Cause I
to make
saw
it
that
somewhat playable. But Steve,
I saw that shot from Hubbard when
Yeah.
he was like right next to the pin.
Oh my God, you
and
have-
then it rolled back like 30 yards.
dude, you have some of these guys who are seriously so dialed in. Some of these dudes are playing great golf.
Yeah.
Of course, it's just this is called the toughest test in golf
Yeah.
for a reason. And today is going to be absolutely insane. You're going to see more of those shots because the USGA tends to make Saturday an absolute cluster F, just like they did at Shinnecock back in 2018, which I think the winner is going to come out of this thing probably no better than 3 under at the end of the weekend. But you could see Scotty and a
the
lot of
hot
these
take.
big names start working their way up the leaderboard today. They're going out early. better conditions before the course gets baked and cooked. That's it. This show is baked and cooked.
Supposed to be almost 100 on Wednesday.
Dude, especially if we're dealing with the championship parade next week, we got a heat wave.
Oh, yeah.
100 degrees,
Yeah.
like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm going to be out there so sweaty.
On
and
your
Great day for
happy.
man on the street for you. You just go out there in your bathing suit and talk to a bunch of drunk people.
That is me. That is where the man of the people thrives. For
Maybe
sure.
bring some Shake Shack with you.
I'll see you there, Jules.
Yep,
and we'll
I'll be
see
there.
all of you back here on DraftKings Network at VSiN, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning Eastern Time.